I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation, the shooting of a Kentucky judge in his chambers by the sheriff. This was not a whodunit, but was and is a why did he do it case. Here's the story.
Whitesburg, Kentucky is a small rural community of under 2,000 residents in eastern Kentucky. It's the kind of place where everyone knows each other. A place where many folks have both personal and professional connections. And that was the situation with the local sheriff, Mickey Stines, and the only judge in town, Kevin Mullins, both with great reputations, known especially for their work in trying to help their community battle the opioid epidemic, which was taking so many lives and destroying so many families. On September 19, 2024, the judge and the sheriff grabbed lunch together with some other people. Later that afternoon, the sheriff headed back to the judge's chambers. Once he got there, he went into the judge's office for a closed-door private meeting. What happened next? No one in this small town expected. The sheriff fired his gun several times, taking the life of Judge Mullins inside his own chambers. Now, with Sheriff Mickey Stines charged with first-degree murder and much of what happened that day being captured on surveillance camera inside and outside the courthouse, everyone's wondering if the videos are the key to understanding what happened that day.
The video is an extremely significant part of this story, this investigation, and will be a part of this trial. That's because we're talking about the middle of the day, inside and outside of a courthouse. And there are surveillance cameras everywhere. They're inside the judge's chambers where the shooting took place. They're in the hallways, in the courtrooms, outside the courthouse, across the street. There are cameras everywhere capturing everything that is happening. We've been going through a lot of those videos that have been released to us. And by going through those videos, we're going to show you tonight and break it down part by part, piece by piece, what this video shows. And we're going to begin with the video from before the sheriff and before the judge go to lunch. So this is sort of the video in the beginning of the day. And I want to bring in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas, who spent time out there and has been going through all these videos for you, and he's here to break them all down. Cody?
Good evening, Vinny. Of course, as you just said, naturally, we have to begin at the beginning of that day, specifically around lunchtime. Now, let's start right here inside the courthouse. This is around 12:07 p.m. To the right of your screen, you can see Sheriff Mickey Stines in that doorway. He's looking down at his phone. He's just calm, cool, collected, like any old Thursday. He comes out of this door, he walks out, exits into what looks like a break room, presumably with other staff that works inside the courthouse. It looks like 5 people in there. He walks through the break room, doesn't really say much to anyone, but everyone's just chilling out, relaxing. He's standing in the doorway, and then look, right there at the bottom of your screen, there is Judge Kevin Mullins. Now we have Judge Mullins and Sheriff Stines in this break room at the same time. But interestingly enough, Sheriff Stines exits the room just a few seconds after Mullins comes in. But now we see Mullins just standing here, talking with everyone again, presumably to work inside that courthouse, laughing it up. This woman comes back towards him, says a few words to him. Of course, she's smiling, walks back. And then we see a few minutes later here, now at just afternoon, 12:11 p.m., you see Sheriff Stines coming in through the front door of the courthouse. We don't know where he's coming from, but he gets here in the middle of the hallway, then he stops and turns around, and then he exits the courthouse again. He walks right back out this door, as if he'd forgotten something or something was on his mind that caused him to tick and come back out outside the courthouse. And this is just another angle of that. He walks through and then exits the courthouse. And now this is around noon. This is actually in the judge's chambers where that shooting occurred. You can see Sheriff Stines sitting across the desk from Judge Mullins. This is Judge Mullins' chambers with 2 other guys sitting in there. Everyone's calm, everyone's collected, everyone's just talking, just a couple of guys sitting around. You see Judge Mullins lighting a cigarette inside. Then just a few minutes later, you see Sheriff Stines stand up. Looks like he says a few things to the boys. He's standing there talking to Judge Mullins. He walks out the doorway. He takes another pause, turns back and says a few more words, leaves the room. Judge Mullins again stays in here with these guys, presuming to work inside the courthouse, or maybe they just knew each other because it's a very small community, 1,100 people in the entire county. Now, Judge Mullins exits, 12:07, Sheriff Stines exits to the side of the building right here, walks down the sidewalk, and one thing to note here, Vinny, you notice that Sheriff Stines is by himself for the majority of these videos. Of course, he walks through the room, sees other people, but when you see Judge Mullins is moving with the posse of people, with this whole crew that we saw inside the chambers. Right here, we're looking on our screen, where's Sheriff Stines? Again, 12:11, just a few minutes later, walking back down the sidewalk alone down the side of the courthouse. Don't know why he's alone. Of course, he was in the chambers with everyone else in there in Judge Mullins' chambers. But again, he walked out left alone early before everyone else left. And Judge Mullins was with the group of people that were in that room. And we see him still walking here, going to what we now know is to be the lunch down the street at Streetside Bar and Grill.
You know, Cody, as I watched that, it was fascinating, right? Because everyone's in there together in the chambers, and then the video we see afterwards, the 12:07, from different perspectives at different times, it's clear that as they're leaving, not leaving together. The sheriff is leaving by himself, even though they seem to be having some level of conversation amongst each other. This is fascinating. All right, Cody's going to stay with us. Let's get to the first question in our investigation tonight, which is, what do the before lunch videos reveal that we just saw? What sort of insight, and can we put a little more context around all of it? Let's bring in our guests. Joining me, Ned, representing the woman suing Sean Mickey Stines. Ned Pillersdorf is with us, and the host of Hillbilly Crime on YouTube. She's closely followed this case. Elizabeth Jones is with us as well. Welcome to you both. Interesting watching some of that before lunch video. Elizabeth, I'll begin with you, trying to put a little more context into it. Do we have any idea who these other folks were? Who were the folks that stayed with the judge? And because obviously Mickey is by himself there.
Well, I can add a little bit of context to that. The sheriff's department is directly behind the courthouse. So it looks to me like Mickey, when he went off by himself behind the courthouse, he was headed to the sheriff's department. And then he's come back. For what? Of course, we don't know. So we already know that the people that were...
So we're looking at the video right now, Elizabeth, going in that direction. Is that going towards the sheriff's department?
Yeah, that's the jail right there where the pillars are. That's the entrance to the jail that's in the basement of the courthouse. And I think that's the only entrance to it besides the Sally Port where we saw him in the other video. And then the sheriff's department is in a building just right across that back alley there behind the courthouse.
And Elizabeth, you were going to add something to that. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say the people that were walking with him down there to that lunch, that was one of his, or walking with the judge, was one of Mickey's deputies. That was Jason Eccles, who was mentioned in the depositions. And I'm not sure who the woman was. I don't know if that, well, I don't want to say until I find out, but I'll find out.
Absolutely. Ned Pillersdorf, as we watch what's happening here before the lunch, does anything strike you as giving us any idea that this is anything other than a normal day?
It does appear to be a normal day, but really, to put this in context, you know, generally judges are supposed to be independent and not associating with people who are likely before them in court. And my experience in that courthouse was that conference room you saw. is sometimes where my clients' fates are discussed and decided. And the fact that the judge is having an informal meeting with the sheriff, who's got numerous cases in front of him, in one sense is unsettling. You certainly wouldn't see that with a federal judge, but it's a very informal situation there. You know, on the other hand, you know, what is the mystery here? There's something going on with Sheriff Stines, who's going to shoot this judge in about an hour, and it's just bewildering what's going on.
Elizabeth Jones, any more context about early part of that day, the morning leading up to just before lunch?
Well, it's been reported that Mickey and the man that was sitting in the windowsill, Michael, he's the preacher, and he's also the community liaison that works for the ARC Rehab Center, who's under investigation with the FBI for Medicaid fraud. So there's a whole lot of moving parts to this. That's not just the sheriff shooting the judge.
Ned, your thoughts? Yeah, obviously we don't know what they're talking about, but this was the week that the sheriff had been deposed by your law firm. I wonder if that comes up at all in any of these conversations.
Well, I've noticed that Stein's defense attorney keeps saying that somehow the deposition that in my office with my co-counsel on Monday led to the shooting on Thursday was somehow a motive in all this. It's inexplicable to me. I mean, when I heard of the shooting on Thursday, I admit the first thought I had was maybe the litigation I'm involved in has something to do with this. Now, his attorney keeps saying it's, quote, front and center of the motive, and there's all sorts of wild speculation as to what's really going on. You know, I've said before, I thought the sheriff's demeanor during my deposition, for lack of a better word, was odd. It wasn't your typical deposition of a sheriff in a civil rights case. But having said that, I have no idea why his defense attorney keeps saying that my litigation, the litigation me and my co-counsel are involved in, was somehow a motive in all this. But he keeps saying that.
Yeah, I don't believe in coincidences. There's too much happening all at once here. All right, guests are going to stay with us. We've got more video to go through from that day. Coming up next, what do the lunchtime videos reveal?
There had been a lunch meeting between Sheriff Stines and Judge Mullins.
There was.
Pardon?
There was.
Okay.
Grieving widow or mastermind behind a murder.
Monica Cementelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Famed celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cementelli.
Prosecutors say she and her lover killed Fabio to collect a big life insurance policy.
The defense may say she's a bad woman, but she wouldn't be involved in a murder.
It's a whodunit Hollywood story, but will there be a twist that no one sees?
The Celebrity Stylist Murder Trial. Weekday mornings, only on Court TV.
Special offer.
Prior to the day, there had been a lunch meeting between Sheriff Stines and Judge Mullins.
There was.
Pardon?
There was.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't see one. I couldn't hear your response. I wasn't being trite. So where did this take place?
It's a restaurant called Streetside. It's just down the street from the courthouse.
And there was nothing unusual that had arisen during that luncheon?
I was told that the judge made a statement to Mickey about, do we need to meet private in my chambers? That's all I was told.
And when they met private in his chambers, that's when the judge got shot by the sheriff. So this lunch meeting, crucial, absolutely crucial part of this story, where they're at the Streetside bar and grill. The judge is there, the sheriff is there, there's other folks there as well. and it's not far from the courthouse. So everyone is just walking to lunch. So still with us to walk us through the video connected to the lunch meeting, Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, you were out there, you made that walk. What can you show us? What can you tell us?
Well, Vinny, like you just said, and you hit it right on the head, that restaurant is not far at all from the courthouse, maybe a football field and a half. So it's very close in proximity. But let's watch them as they're leaving this courthouse around 12:10. This is still around lunchtime. Here again is Judge Mullins with the crew that was in his chambers, walking together, a group of them, coming across the street right here, getting to the other side, and they'll eventually turn on this sidewalk and walk towards us here, going down to the street side bar and grill. And again, to note, he is with the group. Mickey Stines is nowhere to be found. Still, I mean, this is it's a short distance, but it will still take a good 5 to 6 minutes to walk to that restaurant.
Right, and this is at 12:10, right? So this is still, we saw them exit at 12:07 or so, and now they're making their way down the street. And it's a judge and a couple of other folks who are going to be super important witnesses in all this.
Exactly, and as you just heard in that soundbite we played, apparently at this lunch, there was something said between Mickey and the judge that caused them to want to leave and go back to the courthouse. So of course, like you said, very important players. And you see Judge Mullins right there looking down at his phone, but eventually getting to the restaurant. And there he is again. You got to forgive us, the video's a little glitchy that we received, but you get the understanding of what's going on here. Now, 12:12, just 2 minutes later, here's Sheriff Stines outside the courthouse. Just a minute later, he's exiting the courthouse, and now he's going to be making his way to the restaurant. You see him walking again alone. The two people behind him look like pedestrians, but again, that's him at the courthouse, 12:12. So just a few minutes behind, but still alone, nonetheless, away from the group that includes the judge and all the other acquaintances.
So it's really striking how the judge is with the group and the sheriff is by himself. All right, thanks so much, Cody. That brings us to the next question in our investigation tonight, and it's about the videos you were watching here, the lunchtime videos. You can see his gun holstered on the side. What do the lunchtime videos reveal? What do they tell us about the dynamics, and how about that lunchtime meeting? Joining me, clinical and forensic neuropsychologist, author of the book, The New Rules of Attachment, Dr. Judy Ho, and still with me, Elizabeth Jones, host of Hillbilly Crime. Okay, Elizabeth, let's talk first about the lunch meeting itself, right? So on their way to the lunch meeting, there's a conversation. There is something that is said. What do we know? What is going on at this lunch meeting, and how many people are there? Is it just the people we saw walking down the street?
I think so. I think that's going to be all that were there. So he wasn't something that that he pointed out there. That is one of his deputies that's tagging along behind him. He was, and what I had heard was that the deputies didn't sit with Mickey at the lunch. So they must have sat at a separate table is what I heard. And the man in the black shirt, that is one of the rehab fellas. He works with MCCC. And so they were kind of working as those community liaisons.
And when you say, what is the MCCC for folks around the country who are watching this?
Well, I think that that's where they work with their rehab facilities for addiction.
Okay, and is it connected at all to the judge's drug court?
Yes, so that's what Michael Clark was doing. He worked for ARC, who was one of their go-to main facilities that Judge Mullins used. Well, really, all of Letcher County Court used it. I think even Judge Kraft in the other courtroom uses ARC a whole lot. And this fella here, I think they said Mr. Eisen, he works with a different rehab facility and they're both working in Mullins's court to get people into these rehab beds.
Fascinating. There's a lot more woven into what's going on here. But Dr. Judy Hill, let's just talk about the dynamics of all this, right? So you've got one of the sheriff's deputies is with the judge. The sheriff arrives separately. And then at lunch, it seems that the judge makes the comment that whatever the sheriff wanted to talk to him about, he wanted to talk to him privately about. To me, that might be the key to uncovering the tension or the rift between the sheriff and the judge.
Absolutely, Vinny. There's a lot to unpack there, as you just said. And the fact that there was this, at least insinuation that their conversation should be in private means that there was something that was brewing prior to the shooting. And I understand that the sheriff's counsel is at least entertaining, if not planning, to maybe bring the insanity defense into this. So was there some kind of brewing psychosis, perhaps, that was developing on behalf of the sheriff, where he started to have paranoia or certain beliefs that somehow this judge was standing in the way of something important? That's something that the sheriff felt like he had to make right. And of course, I think when people mention the insanity defense in any way, it causes some outrage. Like, people want these individuals to serve their sentence the way that they should, especially given that this was a brutal murder. But it is interesting that this is the way that it's going. And we're going to see if there's actually evidence that this is truly something that would qualify for the insanity defense, which is a very minute amount of cases in all of the cases that are adjudicated.
Yeah, but it seems like it's the only space that is open to the defense here. Everything is caught on video. Our guests are staying with us. Still ahead, what do the after lunch videos reveal? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the shooting death of Kentucky Judge Kevin Mullins, who was killed in his chambers by Sheriff Mickey Stines. And video cameras captured everything except why he did it. Here's the story.
Appalachia is the part of eastern Kentucky where the towns are small and the folks look out for each other. There's a lot of respect for law enforcement and the justice system. And folks who work in that system get to know each other very well. Such was the case for the local Sheriff Mickey Stines and his friend District Judge Kevin Mullins. But like any place, sometimes there is controversy. In Letcher County, it was a deputy who got caught sexually assaulting female inmates in the judge's chambers. That deputy was the bailiff of Judge Kevin Mullins and worked under Sheriff Mickey Stines. That was a couple of years ago. But now everyone is taking another look at that case because something else happened in the judge's chambers. The judge was shot and killed, and Sheriff Mickey Stines is the one being charged with the first-degree murder of a public official. And almost everything that happened that day was caught on camera, both inside and outside the courthouse.
And we are taking a look at that video from inside and from outside, trying to understand how everything transpired that day. We've taken you from some of the early videos before lunch to the walk down to the street side bar and cafe where the lunch meeting was. Now we've got the after lunch video. Joining us to break it all down, Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, to me, this is significant video because this takes us right up into the shooting.
Exactly right, Vinny. This is where the action begins right after lunch, after that statement was said between Judge Mullins and Mickey Stines, where they head back to the courthouse. So let's look. This is Mickey Stines leaving. And forgive us again, this is the video that was provided, so it is a little glitchy. But this is around 1:16, about an hour after they arrived to lunch. Now we move on from Mickey Stines leaving, and then we see Judge Mullins again. This is about 12 minutes later at 1:28. Mickey Stines leaves alone. Judge Mullins again leaving with the group of people as they make their way down the sidewalk, back up to the courthouse. And again, the courthouse is kind of towards the top left of your screen right there. Mickey Stines has already left earlier, 12 minutes earlier, close to 15 minutes earlier. Here we are now at 1:32. This truck leaving is the sheriff's truck. That is Mickey Stines leaving and driving away from the courthouse. We don't know where he was going, but he was leaving the courthouse after they left the lunch. But then we get back here, around the same time, 1:29, Judge Mullins and the crew are back in his chambers. Everything's going great. Everything's seeming like it's a normal old day. They're back in there sitting on their phones. Judge Mullins is looking like he's removing some sort of seat from under his desk. Everything's super casual, but Mickey Stines, again, nowhere to be found as Judge Mullins sits in the chambers with the crew. Now, a couple minutes later, he exits the chambers, walks across the hallway, because keep in mind, Judge Mullins still has court proceedings this day. So he's still actively on the clock. And of course, he comes back into the room, he goes to his chair, and at the moment he's about to pick up his robe and throw on his judge's robe, because again, he has proceedings this Thursday when this shooting happened. Here it is around 1:38, he's putting his robe on, about to head back into the courtroom, hop on the bench. Now here, 2:36, at the top of your screen, you'll see the white sheriff's truck coming back from a different direction and turning in to the parking lot next to the courthouse. Again, we don't know where Mickey Stines went, and now he's circling the courthouse. So he went behind the courthouse, he came back out and circled. Don't know why, don't know if he was thinking. He comes back down that same exact road. Now at 2:39, he's headed right back into the courthouse. He's coming walking down the hallway towards Judge Mullins' chambers. Again, this is 2:39. He walks in this door with one of his acquaintances right here behind him. He opens the door and then he walks into Judge Mullins' chambers. And of course, Vinnie, at 2:52, this is ultimately when the shooting happened. So just about 12 minutes, 13 minutes after he returned from wherever he was in the truck. And of course, we have to note that we do not have video of the minutes leading up to the shooting in those chambers. Allegedly, there's minutes where he walked in the chambers, they sat down, had some sort of conversation. He picked up Judge Mullins' phone, made a phone call, and then the shooting happened in those chambers.
It's striking. The other thing is, coming back from lunch, it seemed like there were more people with them, so maybe they met some folks there, because I saw those people walking. It seemed like a bunch of those folks were inside the chambers. But these videos, fascinating, brings us to the next question in our investigation, and it's about the after lunch videos. What do the after lunch videos reveal? And it's a lot. It is a lot, because my perception of this case has changed tremendously as we sort of break down this timeline now. Joining me, representing the woman suing Mickey Stines, Ned Pillersdorf is with us, and the host of Hillbilly Crime on YouTube. She's closely followed this case. Elizabeth Jones is with us. Elizabeth, again, I'll begin with you. The sheriff walks first by himself. He leaves first. 12 minutes later, everybody else seemed to leave. And then the sheriff got into his truck and headed back down the road past that restaurant that he was at. Do we know anything about where the sheriff went on that drive?
Well, from what has been reported, Mickey was out delivering food, meals with Michael Clark, the boy who he's walking back down the hallway with, in the black shirt and the baseball cap.
Now, explain, delivering meals, in what sense delivering meals?
I think it was food boxes. That's a big thing around here, is different donations of, like, they'll have a great big food box and it'll have all kinds of stuff in it for families.
That's, wow. That's like, wow, he's doing charitable work moments before he's going into the chambers. Ned Pillersdorf, my mind is being blown here. If the sheriff is taking the time after lunch to help out other community members, and then when he's done with that, he circles the courthouse a couple times and then goes in, and within 15 minutes is taking out the judge? Wow.
You know, John Grisham could not have imagined these facts. By the way, all the local headlines around here saying he's asserting an insanity defense. you know, in the real world of practicing law, an insanity defense is generally someone who's schizophrenic, someone who's not in touch with reality, or some break with reality. And all of this indicates, in a sense, Stines was acting, I hate to use the word normally, before the shooting, which really leads to the question, why did all of this happen? And, I don't know. I do think it's interesting, though, his defense attorney keeps saying he wants to try the case in Letcher County, which is once more just more astonishing facts on astonishing facts.
Well, how about this, though, Ned? How about, if folks there, and Elizabeth can chime in as well, it seems folks like Mickey Stines. It seems like he's pretty popular there and might get some benefit of some doubt about, how he was mentally. And I'm wondering, if he's delivering meals with someone, Ned, that person becomes an important witness also when it comes to the sheriff's state of mind. What was he talking about? Was he acting like Mickey Stines normally acts?
I mean, that would seem logically on one level to undercut a quote-unquote insanity defense. In my view, it's not really your typical insanity defense. This is more, I suspect, a defense that Judge Mullins did something that was so outrageous that inflamed Stines to do what he did. It's almost what we call a jury nullification defense. I don't know if that's the defense or not. In fairness to Judge Mullins, he's not here to defend himself, but that's certainly, from everything I've seen from the defense attorney and the media reports, that's where this case is going. And the fact that they want to be tried in Letcher County, which is just full of rumors, which is fueled by social media, I think that's where they're going. But the videos you're showing show somebody acting normally, which certainly would normally, hate to use that word again, undercut your typical insanity defense.
You'd have to be under some level of delusion or something else. Elizabeth, do we know any of these people that we've seen in the video, the people from lunch? We saw a big group walking back down the street. We know that he's in, you say he's in the sheriff's pickup with someone else delivering these meals. Have any of these folks spoken publicly about that day?
Well, right after the shooting happened, Michael Clark came out and did a video and he shared it on Facebook. And he said that he had been there that day and that Mickey was one of his very, very best friends and that Judge Mullins was one of his very, very best friends. And he shamed everybody for saying a bunch of rumors, telling a bunch of rumors. He said that he had spoken to Mickey's wife and his daughter and that the rumor was absolutely not true and that he had her permission to say that. And he really got so much backlash from that video that he ended up having to take it down.
Wow.
Because there's not just accusations being made against Judge Mullins. There's a whole lot of accusations being thrown around at pretty much that whole circle.
Wow.
At the courthouse.
Elizabeth Jones, host of Hillbilly Crime on YouTube. Always great to have you. Incredible insight. You are there. You understand this better than anyone that's been reporting on it. Thank you so much. Ned is going to stay with us. Still to come, what do the videos after the shooting reveal?
Come on now. Be fair to me. We're being good to you, brother. You stick your leg up in there. Come on now, guys. Please don't do this to me. I can't say it like this.
Slide sideways.
I can't. Come on now. Be fair to me. We're being good to you, brother. You stick your leg up in there. Come on now, guys. Please don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me. Please. You want to scoot on over a little bit to the left? Come on now. Try to scoot on over a little bit more. That way we don't hit you. Can you go any bit farther? I just want to hit you with the door. Put your knee in there, my friend. Hey, Jason. Hey, Bates. Hey, Bates. Can we loosen this up a little or give the window down? I'm sorry. Can we loosen this up a little? Be fair to me, man.
important video there. Even though we don't see the sheriff, you can hear him. This is moments after he has shot and killed the judge. So in a case where it may all come down to the state of mind of the sheriff, listening to him talk is extremely significant. Now, it's also extremely significant to see all the video and what is happening at the time of the shooting and just after the shooting. Still with us to walk us through this video, Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, take us through now. You've taken us up to and through the shooting. What happens next?
Well, Vinny, of course, this is the ending. This is the aftermath. This is everything leading up to the eventual arrest. So let's take a view inside the courthouse. This is inside the courtroom. This is at 2:52, the same minute that the shooting happened. See, all those women's faces all jump and they look in the same direction. Clearly, they heard something that sounded like a gunshot or even just heard something that just didn't sound right. Of course, they got up. They look scared, they look frantic, they're grabbing their things and running out of the courtroom. And you can imagine a gunshot inside with all those acoustics echoing off of each other. It was probably sound like a sonic boom in there. And you see her coming out this door, these two women leaving the door, the guy getting off the little bench right there, walking out the door. Again, this is in the aftermath of the shooting. And here you see a woman running out of the hallway, looking around as if, you know, she doesn't know what really happened, but that loud noise is enough to scare anyone. This woman's getting out too, she's looking around, leaving the building, and that's the woman we just saw again running through that door and eventually exiting the courthouse. Now, we fast forward to outside. Now we see the people, you can see the sprinting happening now. It's as if they've realized what's happening. See how many people are sprinting out of the courthouse in a frenzy, and right there, walking slowly at 2:54, just 2 minutes after the shooting, down the courthouse stairs, that is Sheriff Stines, walking as if nothing's happened. He's just walking, swaying his arms, just very calm. He's done the shooting and he just walks and turns the corner here. You can see his gun holster on his belt. 2:55, he's walking back, or here's the deputies arriving, law enforcement arriving, they're jumping out, running down the street, going inside. You see them all geared up. They got the guns ready to go. And the top right of the screen there, you see Sheriff Stines walking slowly back. There are deputies running right past him because you can imagine, Vinny, you don't expect the sheriff of the town or the whole county to shoot the judge. So they're not expecting Sheriff Mickey Stines to be the culprit in this. And there's Stines walking slowly back towards the courthouse, walking back towards the stairs. He takes another little pause here. And again, no one's looking at him. He's the sheriff. You wouldn't expect this to happen. Here we are, 2:55 again. He's walking slowly. His gun is still on his holster. He takes a little jog up the stairs to walk back in. And Vinny, it was reported that he surrendered himself, but we do not have the video of him inside giving himself up to law enforcement and turning himself in after the shooting. But we do have the video right here of him during the arrest, walking across the dash cam video of this law enforcement vehicle. Now he is apprehended. He's in custody after shooting Judge Mullins in those chambers.
So from all the videos that we've obtained, two significant ones have not been released, and that would be the sheriff surrendering himself. He's been described as having his hands up in the air when he goes back in, and also the video in the moments just before the shooting in the chambers. But let's get back to these videos because they are very significant. They bring us to the next question in our investigation, which is, what do the videos after the shooting reveal? Inside the courthouse and with the sheriff himself. Still with me, Ned Pillersdorf, and joining me, clinical forensic neuropsychologist and author of the book, The New Rules of Attachment, Dr. Judy Ho. Dr. Judy Ho, there was clearly some level of panic from folks inside, which was it was a stark contrast to the sheriff. Everyone else is running out, and the sheriff is casually walking out.
Yes, that video is disturbing because it seems as if he doesn't really care about what had happened and the fact that he just murdered a dear colleague, a judge, no less. But I think that you can see how this might be utilized by his counsel as support for the insanity defense, that, oh, well, maybe he didn't know right from wrong, and that's why he was sort of sauntering around casually. But Vinnie, I would say that the video that we just saw earlier, where we didn't see his face, but we could hear his voice, he's pleading with his former colleagues, naming them, asking them to be fair and to be nice to him, that during that moment, he may have well been having a panic attack because he realized the repercussions of what is going on. And I think that that would then go against most definitions of the insanity defense, which requires that the person did not know right from wrong at the time of the crime.
Right. And the time I've seen it successful through the years here at Court TV is in a situation, and it usually involves a mother and her children, when a mother believes she's saving her children. She's killing them, but she believes she has to kill them to save them from Satan and are being directed by God. And I've seen it successfully done at trial, but it's extremely rare. Ned, what do you think about the observations of the sheriff himself afterwards here, where he is walking out of the courthouse, kind of walking around the side, and watching and observing, but exposing his holstered gun?
He's, I hate to use the word, he's acting normally in a sense. And if I'm defending Sheriff Stines, would never use the word insanity. This is really going to be what we call a justification defense, that there was something going on in those moments where they had that private conversation that caused all this. And I do think it was interesting, the video you showed of him talking to the fellow law enforcement officers. That sounded almost like, hey, we're part of the same team, we're colleagues, take it easy on me. And that's kind of, once again, that's something that you'd normally expect from a sheriff who's suddenly being charged with a crime, that is asking fellow law enforcement to help him out. Once again, this is not your typical insanity case. It's not even close. This is some sort of, I did what I did because I felt justified in doing it. And I think that's where the defense is going. And as I've indicated, there's something going on in terms of why he felt he was justified in doing this. Because this is certainly not your typical insanity defense, where somebody is, as I indicated, schizophrenic, they don't know where they are, they're actively hallucinating.
There's nothing, and
again,
we're out of time again, Ned. Yeah, but there's nothing typical about this case at all. Thank you both so much. Great to have you, Ned Pillersdorf and Dr. Judy Ho. It's clear that the answer to this puzzling case lies somewhere between the ears of Sheriff Mickey Stines. What exactly was he thinking? Was he in the midst of a mental breakdown? Was he paranoid and delusional? Did he believe he and his family was in danger? These questions will be crucial in trying to figure out if the sheriff has a valid defense. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.